fear of failure is absolutely real, and you're right, Niket, over there. So the way a founder can navigate, is by not thinking about the next 6 months or 1 year, actually about thinking about the next 5 years. But as you scale, you have a team, you have more responsibilities. You have to first manage those responsibilities, and only then you can take out the time to keep upskilling. But another cool way is to actually unbundle an existing marketplace. But one really weird thing that we look for is if that person is a gamer or not. He is a problem solver, because in a game you keep losing, so you don't give up basically.
Hello everyone, welcome to the third episode of Medial's podcast. Medial is the next gen professional network. So if you have ever felt out of place and not being able to find like-minded peers who are as ambitious as you, if you want to find a co-founder, if you want to validate your idea or stay connected to the startup ecosystem of India, Medial is your go-to platform. And as an extension to the platform, we have brought you a podcast series in which we call founders, entrepreneurs who have been there, done that, so that you can learn from their experience and how they build their businesses. Today, we have Sushant with us. Welcome to the podcast, Sushant. He's a SaaS founder. And first of all, I think for our audience, Sushant, if you could tell us what SaaS is.
Thank you, Niket, very much for having me on your podcast. First of all, SaaS basically stands for software as a service, wherein we build a software kind of like the old legacy software, like Microsoft or Adobe Photoshop, but we build it on online, and we deliver it online only. No need to install, just use it. Best example, which I think everyone would have heard of, is something like Canva. So that's a very popular SaaS.
Got it. Sure. Sushant, take us through your journey. How did this start? What were you studying? Where did you grow up? What was your education? And what happened then? How did your professional journey in general? What was the timeline like? How did it start?
So my childhood has been in Delhi, and I have been a very below average student my whole life. And after all of that, when I was in college, I thought that I don't think I was a good student. I don't think I'm a good student in college. I'm not a good student in school. So I am for sure not going to be a good employee or a good team member, probably, right? Especially a junior one. So I thought, what else can I do? Can I be a musician? No. Can I be an artist? No. So I thought this seems something interesting, that I can build SaaS products or something that can impact and help a lot of people. So that has been a gist of my journey. And after that, ever since, I've been creating SaaS products and venturing into different kinds of startups.
We heard that you have never had a job right out of college. You joined in a startup as a CTO, got an offer. Tell us something about that. How was that, like, not having any experience of working in a established corporation or environment and directly starting your own thing, becoming a CTO, handling a big team? How does that look like?
So it was a great experience. I'll tell you how this started.
Mhm.
Straight out of college, I built a SaaS product,
Mhm.
which had to do with hiring and screening of candidates, and that got acquired with this company that had huge funding, huge team, and so on. But they couldn't scale up their technology, and it looked a good idea that I had already built a pretty stable platform which was scaled to tens of thousands of users already.
Mhm.
So that's how I got that opportunity, and it was like a acqui-hire kind of a situation where our existing team of 5-6 members was acqui-hired in that company.
Got it. So you were building right from college itself.
Yeah, once I realized that I cannot do
Do
a
a
job,
job.
I
So
just
if you
thought,
can't do a job, build a startup. That has been the story of a lot of folks here in Bangalore, at least, even mine. But yeah, Sushant. So going ahead, the fear, right, that a college student has, especially in college, is that, boss, agar startup nahi chala, if my startup does not work out, because everyone wants to do a startup. But if it doesn't work out, I won't even have a job if I don't sit for placements, right? So usually what happens is, even the ambitious ones, even the one who want to do it, give in to the fear of failing and sit for placement because parental pressure, etc., etc. And eventually either get a job and then do their startup, or probably never do their startup, right? So how did you navigate through? What was your thought process? Were you like, just, I just can't do a job, so there's no other option? What worked for you? And how were you prepared for the negatives? Like, what if nothing worked out? What had you thought?
so the fear of failure is absolutely real, and you're right, Niket, over there. So the way a founder can navigate, or student who is looking to start a business should navigate fear of failure is by not thinking about the next 6 months or 1 year, actually about thinking about the next 5 years. So let's say if a student graduates from college, he gets a 20,000 job, 50,000 job, 1 lakh job, right? So that's the opportunity cost that he won't get if he's starting a startup. But what would be, let's say his package is 12 lakh per annum, and at the end of 5 years he would have earned somewhere around 60 lakhs in that
Right.
sense. So can you do a startup where you can you earn more than 60 lakhs at the end of your 5 years? Because salaries and money in a startup is not linear, it's always exponential.
Correct.
So that's how a founder should think at the early stage, when they are thinking of opportunity costs and navigating through the fear.
Got it. And on the same line, on that thought, do you think it was different for you? College was different for you, given that you were engrossed and spending your time building stuff. Did you miss out on college life, friendships, etc., or was it okay with you and you just compensate for it? How was it like?
I don't think so I missed out as such. Yeah, it was a good experience in my college overall, and I usually actually was working on these stuff when people were studying for exams and going for
Okay.
placements and all.
So you didn't miss out the social part.
Yeah, I didn't miss out the social part. I actually missed out the studying part.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Very similar stories, by the way. I also skipped all my classes and built whatever I built. But yeah, coming to the next question, if you could recommend a book to a student or an early startup person to deal with failure or to stay motivated or just the path forward, what would that book be?
One book that I read very early on and that has had immense impact on my startup career so far has been The Mom Test. So this
Okay.
is a book that teaches you how to ask the right questions, because you see, your parents are, if you go with a startup idea to your parents, if they are supportive, they will say they love your idea. Your mom will say that she loves your idea, right? Your friends will most probably be hesitant but still say they love your idea, right? And the same is with customers. If you do not ask the right questions, most likely they will just end up committing that, okay, we love your idea, build it, and then we'll buy it. But when you actually build it, pour your heart and soul into it, then they won't go for it, right?
Right.
They won't buy it. So
Authentic customer experience, right?
asking the right questions,
questions
from
to
the
get
questions like, do you want this feature or this product, or will this save your help you? So most people would say yes to things like that. So for example, if someone would say that, would it be good if you get food delivered at your home, so everyone would say, yeah, that's a good thing, and I get it from all of these places. But you have to say, like, what would be the problem? So the problem statement could be that, what would you lose if you're not getting? So that, in that sense, people can come up and say, okay, there's no late night delivery like there is with we know that with Swiggy and Zomato these days.
Right.
So in that sense,
Right. After college, now that you've been building for so long, in today's date, how do you manage your work-life balance? How does it look like? Like, is there a work-life balance? Do you manage it, or how do you go about it today?
that's absolutely correct. It's impossible for a founder to manage their work-life balance, and it's as simple as that. If you want work-life balance, probably go for a easier 9 to 5 where you don't have any responsibilities. Because in a startup or in a business, it's all up to you.
Correct.
You have to give your heart and soul, and you have to commit your 24 hours. If there's something wrong, if the server has crashed, your app is not working, your website is not working, or the deliverable is late, it's you in the end who will be awake at late at night and trying to fix all
The
those
onus of the result lies with the founders, right? So
Absolutely.
the responsibility just
Yeah.
10x's. Okay. Tell us a bit about your current SaaS company. How is it doing? How big is it? And how did it start? What was the idea behind it? And what it does in general, SalesBlink, right? So
SalesBlink is a tool for salespeople, right? It's the go-to place to send outbound emails and messages. So the problem statement that we're trying to solve over here is that we found that in the market there are a lot of companies and there are a lot of people who start businesses. They rely a lot on word of mouth, or they rely on something like inbound leads or similar things like that. But what I observed, in my initial phase was that most of these huge companies, whether it be something like Microsoft or a Dell or a Lenovo, they all go for outbound selling. They all go for B2B selling. So that was the goal, to build a software that can help companies sell more to do outbound sales and sell more easily and effectively.
Right. Right.
So that's what it does.
Yeah, got it. I think a perfect crumbled up definition of what SalesBlink does at the moment. Tell me something. Personal growth is important. If you don't learn, how will you upskill yourself? But when you start a company and at your stage where it is already working, generating revenue, you have a big team. How do you balance the both out, right? Like, do you spend time on personal growth, upskilling, or do you not get the time anymore? Or was it easier before? It's harder today. How does it look like your personal growth and upskilling journey?
Absolutely, it was very much easier. When you're just starting off, you have
Right.
all the time in the world and you can learn new things very fast, very quickly. But as you scale, you have a team, you have more responsibilities. You have to first manage those responsibilities, and only then you can take out the time to keep upskilling. And in this world of AI and Chat GPT, it is very important to keep upskilling yourself. Otherwise, you will just fall behind.
Correct.
Right.
You also have a strong notion that you don't form deep connections with your teammates. Elaborate on that. Would love to understand what and how does that work for you?
I feel that when we have teammates, so no one tries to find a job saying that I want to I want my boss to be my best friend. I'm
Yeah.
actually looking for a job because I want my boss to be my best friend. No one firstly thinks that. Secondly, no one thinks that okay, I'm very lonely. Maybe I should do a job and my coworkers will be my friend, right? So no one who is looking for a job actually is looking for any friendship or connection or relationship, right? If it builds up, that's great, but it should not be forced. First
Right.
of all.
Right.
Secondly, what employees want is growth and be good at what they do, right? That's what they want. They are not looking to join a company because the founder would become best friends with them, right? Otherwise we could have hired a lot of great people
Friends, yeah.
we could have hired a lot of great people for very cheap, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Understandable.
Yeah.
Hey, great take on the entire topic. It's very debatable. Everyone keeps saying that we're not a company, we're a family and other BS, but I think some things are transactional. If it happens, happens. It absolutely shouldn't be forced. A lot of people I have met personally have either left their jobs or are very uncomfortable just because they have to forcibly attend an office party or go to someone's birthday. If I'm not personally connected to the person, why do I have to forcibly be there, right? I think there should be some democracy when it comes to your office relationships.
Absolutely.
Next thing, what are your thoughts on remote work? Post COVID, we have seen the big debate about remote or office. What do you prefer and why?
So I think at the early stages, it's definitely better to start off in a remote setup, right? People are dedicated. People can get work done really quickly. But as you grow, and if you want to build a bigger business, if you want to build a big business, you need people to sit in the office and brainstorm and think and solve problems for the customer
Got it.
together. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about or what is your take in SalesBlink about culture of the team of the company? How are you building it, and what's your take on leadership in general, right? Like while building a startup, you've been a solo founder mostly, right? So how does it work for you?
So I'll start with the culture first. So I think building a great culture is very easy. What we do is that we first find people who we first put people in the roles. Let's say it's an SEO role, or it's a marketing role, ads role, or a developer role, head of engineering. They actually love what they do and they see themselves doing the same thing for the next 30-40 years. So that's the first point. Second point is that we ensure that they do feel that they are growing in their job. So these are the two things I think when combined together, and when people work in a team where they are all passionate about their own craft, then they themselves come with great ideas and build a great culture. Otherwise, I don't think that there's any point, again, as you mentioned, like just because 10 people are together, there's a forced party, like you have to come to a party, right? I also feel that like you mentioned in your last comment, that people should like all of these, like there's a debate that it should be a family, like teams should be a family. I think that a better example rather than a family would be like a cricket team. Everyone plays together, right? you have to perform to
Correct.
stay in the team.
As a unit.
Yeah, as a unit, you have
Yeah.
to perform and
Yeah.
you have to stay in the team. If you're not performing, you can't be a family member, right? So that's a very important point that we focus on in culture, so that everyone is performing well.
No, makes I guess complete sense. What's your take on remote work?
Yeah.
I think we covered
This is,
this, right?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Leadership.
Leadership and this, right? So another thing would be, what do you think about, a current living legend that you at least look up to, and you think everyone should know about and learn from? Any entrepreneur, any individual out there?
Sure. So there are a lot of people, obviously, like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, but everyone knows about these. So I'll pick Larry Ellison, who is the founder of Oracle.
Oracle.
So he's a guy 80 years old, almost you can think as old as Amitabh Bachchan, right? But he is still so enthusiastic. If you see his interviews, he's like, I will kill AWS's business and I'll just, make such a great cloud product and so on. And he's also a billionaire and almost like as rich as Mukesh Ambani. But that's the point that, he's not well known, and again, he's in B2B as well.
His energy just doesn't die.
Yeah,
Like
just
despite
doesn't
age.
die at that age.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing. I wonder how that happens, because usually after 40, 45 years of age, you start slowing down in your professional career too.
Yeah.
How much can a man work, right, is the question. But I think entrepreneurs are different and they just can continue, and that's why they are who they are. So we came to know that you have achieved 1 million in traffic on your website. And I think for SaaS businesses who have to convert into, customers, recurring customers, and ARR and MRR are so important to you. So SEO is important, traffic is important to you. I would love to know, how did you guys hack your way to 1 million in traffic, and what was the thesis?
So it's very simple. So apart from all the SEO hacks, key backlinks and all these things, the very simple concept is that write something people want to read.
Okay.
Do they get value out of it? After reading, do they think about it for, let's say, 60 seconds, right? So that is the most important thing. If they are not getting value out of it, then they won't, continue reading, or they won't come back. So to get, good traffic, you have to put out content, like we are putting out this podcast content right now. So you have to keep putting out content that provides some kind of value to the people.
Right. So if they are actually happy after reading something and they actually derive value, in general, they end up loving your, blog piece or whatever you're putting out there. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So from there, just building on that, you also track your time a lot, almost 13 hours a day, and you've mastered the art of time management sort of sorts. How does that work? Like, how do you do that, and what's the hack behind that?
Yeah. So I think that when we are, low on money, right? When we are low on money, at the end of the month, I have only 10,000 rupees left in my account, even though my salary is, let's say, 1 lakh. I will go back and I will check my, bank statements, my UPI payments and everything to see, okay, where did I ended up spending it. So I think as a founder, it is very important to track your time as well and see at the end of the week or end of the month about how you have spent your time, and is it going towards your goal or someplace else. Because if it's going someplace else, then most likely it's waste, just like that money we lost on Zomato or Swiggy, something that's a waste.
Absolutely.
So
Understandable.
that sense.
So do you have any YouTube or in general video course recommendation which a founder or an aspiring founder can look forward to, instead of an MBA or wasting like years and years on a degree?
So this channel by Y Combinator is really great, and it has a lot of great videos. One of the videos that really stands out to me is by Peter Thiel. So for those who don't know, Peter Thiel is the guy who took Ritesh Agarwal of OYO out of his school and said that I'll pay you to not go to school, basically. So from there, so that's the guy Peter Thiel, and he basically says that competition is for losers. So what does that mean? If there's a North Indian restaurant in, let's say, South India or in Bangalore, they will always say that we have the best North Indian food in all of Bangalore, right? And if there's a South Indian place in Delhi, they will say that I have the best South Indian dosas or idli or whatever in Delhi. But that's what people are competing for, right? But real businesses like Google or Microsoft, they cry that we have so much competition, right? Unlike these restaurants which say ki we don't have any competition, we are the best. But on the other hand, Microsoft and Google will keep crying that we have so much of competition. There are so many search engines, there are so many operating systems. Facebook will keep crying, there are so many, different platforms you can go to. There's Twitter, there's Pinterest, and so on. But that's the thing, it teaches that competition for those who are on top, it doesn't matter.
Understandable. I've seen almost, I think, every video of YC, and Thiel is great. I think I tweeted once that competition is for losers. Which is that one startup currently which is doing very well, or so the world thinks, but you think might, go down in the future?
Is the one company that I think definitely should go down in the future is CRED. Because they first created a community, asking me to pay my credit card bills, saying that, you are a premium person, so you have credit card, you pay from our, portal and everything. Now, after 5 years and, hundreds of, UI improvements that they keep doing, what are they asking me to do? They are asking me to buy this, pair of earphones from a random company. If I was a premium customer, why won't I buy from, Apple or,
Right.
some good
Premium
company?
brands.
Yeah, some premium brand. I was you brought me in by saying you are a premium customer. Now you are pushing me those almost like street side kind of products for 100 rupees, 500 rupees, and yeah.
How
So
many credit coins do you have?
I have a lot of credit coins.
कभी काम आता है? मतलब, do you
Never.
ever use it?
Never.
There's a big debate around credit coins that they're useless. But yeah, got my answer here. If there is a fresher who wants to start his own business, maybe he's in a job or she's in a college, and they want to do their own thing, how do they find an idea and zero down on it or validate it?
For a new founder, it can be a daunting task to find an idea. If you are already in a job or if you already know something, try to find an idea related to that. It would definitely help you out to get customers, understanding about the industry. But another cool way is to actually unbundle an existing marketplace. So how does this work? Do you know when Airbnb started, they actually posted on Craigslist a lot. And now from the Craigslist is a US based website, kind of like OLX of back in the day, where people can post and sell anything. So they were selling rooms on there. So on Craigslist, people used to sell rooms, cars, real estate and everything else. So that got unbundled, and now we have for cars we have different companies, for hotel rooms we have different companies, and so on. For mobile phones we have different companies. So look at websites and see if you can unbundle the value proposition. So I'll give you a more real example that you can utilize right now, which will be to try and unbundle some of the communities of Reddit. Right, so Reddit is a huge community, and there are segments of people who are looking to buy something or exchange something here and there. So you can try to unbundle something like a Reddit, or even something like a Swiggy or Zomato, because Swiggy and Zomato are selling everything, right? But probably they are not selling that specific kind of homemade food that
So speciality is
yeah.
what can actually differentiate you.
Yeah.
Got it. Great answer, I guess. Moving forward, like, let's say this person who's also trying to figure out, wants to build a SaaS business and specific, what would be the exact steps of guidance that you would suggest for a founder going into SaaS?
So starting a SaaS is honestly the easiest thing, probably because you don't have to come up with a new idea.
Yeah.
First thing, if you are coming up with an idea and no one else has in SaaS business, that means that it's not a good idea at all and you should close your business.
Yeah.
Secondly, just look at the industries and the market leaders who is enterprise and growing at 30, 50, 60% CAGR. So the thing is that once these Silicon Valley VC funded companies raise a lot of money, they are forced to sell to only enterprise customers.
Right.
They cannot anymore sell to SMBs or smaller businesses. On the other hand, you can start a business probably in India or from Bali or someplace, wherein you have your costs low, your team costs low, and you can start a business wherein you do the same thing but for SMBs. Right? And that's exactly what Zoho or Freshworks has done.
Correct. And Zoho is, I guess, bootstrapped. They just recently crossed 1 billion in revenue, right, from India. I think they're an inspiration in terms of SaaS to everyone around the globe, right? Doing global business. And very few SaaS startups that we see doing well in foreign markets. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs today in India are really, hedged on the problem of cracking the US GTM. So yeah, interesting, Sushant. Tell me how you tackle tech hiring in your startup. Like, how do you decide to hire which techie, and what are the characteristics that you look for in a techie?
So definitely, when hiring a tech person, we look for their coding assessment and their ability to solve problems and all these things. But one really weird thing that we look for, or at least I look for, is if that person is a gamer or not. Because if that person is a gamer, that means two things: one, he is tech savvy; second, he is a problem solver. Because in a game, you keep losing, right? You keep losing 10 times, 20 times, but you still go on and play the same level or same match, and you go ahead and you try to win. So you don't give up, basically.
Correct.
That easy. Yeah.
Got it. And specific to your industry, marketers are also important. People who know how to reach out to people. What do you look for while hiring marketing?
So while hiring marketer, we actually look if the person has a unique insight or a skill that they have already built upon, right?
Got it.
And if they can come up with original ideas, because marketing is all about getting new ideas in the same field. So you can think it of like this: that if a person has a good knowledge in a particular marketing field, then they can experiment more and do more better things. If I give a parallel, I cannot play cricket that well, so I cannot create new types of shots. But probably someone like Virat Kohli, he can create new kinds of strokes and shots, or bowling techniques, because he has already mastered everything basic.
Right. Got it. You are also bootstrapped till now. Why not go for funding? How do you think about fundraising and all these startups that are fundraising today, right? And there are many who are also bootstrapped. But what do you think about the current market in India, the current mindset of entrepreneurs or people who, are seeing all these news of $300 million in funding, this happening, that happening? What is your take on the current VC ecosystem?
So definitely the current VC ecosystem is very demotivated, right? Because of a few reasons, as we know. That one is that we have now realized a startup ecosystem as a whole has realized that the market size is not that huge, right? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever, and the market size is just not huge. Secondly, I think that about funding, I feel that there are different types of businesses that should go for funding and that shouldn't go for funding. We also see this on Shark Tank, that a lot of times people come in and the investors actually say that sorry, this is not a fundable business. And that, I think, is a problem. Many people, because this funding is so praised and advertised, that a lot of people go ahead and just try to for anything and everything, they start think that I should just go and raise funds. But if you are honestly opening a restaurant, if your goal is to open 3 restaurants in your life and just run that, you don't need a funding, right?
Correct.
Or you need a funding where you cannot in any case make money before you hit a threshold of customers, right? So for example, something like a Facebook or a Medial, right? So where you need a certain number of customers. So I think that makes a lot more sense. Or even something like a Swiggy or Oyo, where you need a certain number of customers.
I think to achieve that critical mass, right?
Yeah.
It definitely makes sense. I guess the differentiation between VC investable businesses and normal businesses has to be established even more in India, so that people understand why some companies never get funding, right? Because I've seen this confusion all along, that I can make 20-30 crores a year. Why wouldn't someone invest in me? They have to understand that the scale at which VCs operate, they probably want a 1,000 crore company revenue run rate, right? But yeah, moving on, you have built a pretty good cold outreach software, right? Which so many people use. But coming to the basics of it, when we think of cold outreach, a lot of freshers would think of LinkedIn cold outreach, right? To either reach out to an employer for a job or anyone for anything, right? So give us some hacks for cold outreaching on LinkedIn. What would work, what would not?
So I'll tell you, I just recently, yesterday, got a message from, I think he's a potential customer, as he signed up on our website, and then he sent me a text, hi, please call me, and left his number. So that's not how outreach is going to work. You have to state your intent, keep it short and simple, and put your ask at the end of the message. Like, what is your ask? Why are you actually texting the person? Because people appreciate people who are straightforward, rather than keeping multiple layers. It's a very bad idea as a student or a fresher to just ping a VC or, let's say, a potential employer, that I have a great idea and I would like to discuss. you have to tell all about your great idea first, and if they get the time and if they find it interesting, then they can get back to you. Otherwise, you can't expect, you have to respect others' time. So that's the most
Absolutely.
important thing.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. So be concise, be precise, and I think text with intent. That improves your chances of getting a reply. Uh, let's talk about content, right? You're a reader. You also watch a lot of stuff. If I was a founder and I wanted to start out, what would be the greatest resources? Where would I find them, right? And also tell us about your favorite books and favorite games, if you play games.
So my favorite game is Age of Empires, which is basically a strategy game where you have a certain set of resources and you have to build your empire based on that. So I think I drew a lot of inspiration from those kind of strategy games to in today's context build a business, like how to build a business from constraints and so on. Another popular board game that is a lot of people play and eventually become businessmen playing it is Monopoly. You learn how to manage money, how to manage assets, and eventually so games do provide a very good playground without any consequences for you to actually strategize things and think about psychology of other people. So there's that. My favorite book, one of my favorite books is Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is about he tells us about how to break the habits in parts and actually build them up, how to learn
Baby
those
steps.
habits.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say you want to get fit and you are unable to you are not able to, maybe it's your body, it's your mind, whatever, you're just not able to give 1 hour in the gym, right? You are just not able to do it, you get tired or you get worn out, whatever it is. So he gives this as an example that just try to go to the gym for 10 days, 15 days. Eventually, if you don't want to do anything, just go every day and come back. Eventually you'll say, let's do it for 5 minutes, let's do it for 15 minutes, and eventually you will build it up as a habit. So
Yeah,
that's a great
makes
thing.
sense. Yeah. Shan, tell us the most common mistakes or pitfalls that people make now that you've seen so much of it while planning a cold outreach campaign. Let's say I want to reach out to 10 people for selling my product and I'm planning a campaign, right, of cold outreach. What are the common mistakes that I should avoid completely?
I think in cold outreach or in sales in general, the most common thing that people miss out is to create a compelling offer. If you are not giving a compelling offer, might it be face to face, cold outreach via email, LinkedIn, phone call, whatever it might be. If you are not able to create a good offer that people would feel stupid not buying, right? Then there's almost no point, and they are not going to buy it. So your offer has to be very good, and they have to feel smart that they opted for this offer.
That's kind of a psychological tactic, right?
Yeah.
Like, which might help you convert more. Makes sense. Crazy. I think sales has a lot to do with psychology, right? Like,
Absolutely.
it definitely matters when you're converting clients, how to play with psychology all around. Cool. So yeah, that's almost all of our questions. We'll get into a rapid fire, okay? And I'll ask you quick questions. You can answer me in one word or a bit extended version of it. No issues. What is one of your favorite startups over here right now?
One of my favorite startups has to be, I would say, Freshworks. Being
Freshworks.
from the SaaS industry, the way they have scaled up, internationally and globally. So that has been great.
They listed two, I guess. Yeah. What's the most innovative piece of tech that you own?
So I own this piece of X-Real AR glasses, which is basically an AR glass that I can see, videos on, courses on, or whatever while I'm doing all other tasks. So it has a 50% displays there on, like 50% with 51 brightness. I can see it in my specs and I can see the outside world. So
amazing.
that really
So it's
works well.
immersive in general. What is that one book that you would not recommend anyone and should be like removed from all bookshelves?
So there are a lot of books like that. Something like how to talk nicely and influence people, something like that, right? And then there's this how to think and grow rich, right? Even Rich Dad Poor Dad. So the problem is that from when Rich Dad Poor Dad was released, they actually, the ecosystem was completely different. At that time there was no Airbnb. Now you can buy a property and you can rent it out to hundreds of people in the same month. But at that time it was more like a not like an asset, basically a liability more of.
Got it. which would be some of the apps that you use most in a single day?
So definitely it has to be, Slack and Spark and my calendar app.
Productive
these
tools, basically, right?
Yeah. So
Got it.
basically productivity tools.
Are you a early riser or a night owl?
So I keep switching, but I like to be an early riser.
Early riser.
Yeah.
But you have to switch given your work, right? Like
Yeah.
if it changes here and there. Bangalore or Gurgaon?
So definitely Bangalore.
Bangalore. Why Bangalore and why not any other city for like startups?
So I think people are very open-minded and very motivating, and more than that, they want to create a sort of a community around startups in Bangalore, and they are open for that. Even if it's a junior intern, he would love to come to a meetup or a something like that has to do with all with startups.
Right.
On the contrary, I've stayed mostly in Delhi and Gurgaon, so what I see over there is that even if there's a senior business person or a startup person, they would mostly like to keep it to themselves, and yeah.
Yeah, got it. I think every city has differences today. And I think we have newer cities like Chennai for SaaS and Pune and Hyderabad coming up, Indore, Bhopal. It's everywhere, right? Like the revolution is everywhere. What do you think about Shark Tank?
So about Shark Tank, I think firstly the people who are investing money, we firstly, for most of them, we don't know if they have money or not, or how much money. For example, Shadi.com is running since past 10-15 years, right? But there has been no reports ki how much money do they have, unlike something like a Zomato or a Paytm, which is more recent, right? So we don't know that. Secondly, the valuations at which they try to give invest is kind of not what they only invest outside of the Shark Tank. So they would take 5% if you're outside of Shark Tank. If you're coming on Shark Tank, they would take 15-20%. Right. So that's what I think, that it's a bit unfair. And I also feel that at times sharks are trying to take advantage of the people. How are they trying to take the advantage of the people? So if a D2C company comes in,
royalty deals and stuff.
Yeah, they do a royalty deal and they say ki no problem, if you hit 1 CR, if you hit 2 CR, hit 2 CR, if you hit 10 CR, then only you have to pay me. But they know that after airing on live television all over India, they will easily hit this much and they will just get their money back. So it's a great deal for sharks to just sit there, give a royalty deal, get their money 2x with their 15-20 minutes of investment, of the time investment that they did by sitting over there. And then afterward, they just get their money back twice as much usually. And they also have this free equity, which they can just forget about.
Great conversation, Sushant. Love talking about SaaS in general. Like, I've always been interested in it, but never really met young founders in SaaS. Everyone, when I used to like generally get to know about it, everyone was old. Gray haired, building SaaS. So it's very glad to see that youngsters now have taken on to SaaS and are building great stuff. Thank you for being on the podcast. It was great having you here. And in general, if you would have one last advice for any founder, right, who's starting up, what would that be? A simple, short advice.
So don't think, start building.
Great. With that crisp note, this is Niket from Medial. Closing this episode where we had Sushant explaining this SaaS business and overall perspective on entrepreneurship. Medial, again, is a next-gen professional network. So if you're a builder, startup guy, want to build something, you will find like-minded peers on Medial. Download the app today and let's get on in the action.